I just wanted to go over this digital tachometer. It's the model number on it is DT-2234C plus. You can get these on Amazon. That's where I've got this one. They also sell them on eBay. Different sellers on eBay have this one. I paid about, I think around 10 bucks, maybe $11 for this one. It's a really nice way to monitor speed on something. It doesn't necessarily have to be a motor. It could be a spinning disc of some sort, or anything that spins. You can check the speed on it using one of these digital tachometers. And the way it works is with a laser. It's got a laser, that's the light that it emits, and then it's got a collector in here that receives a signal that bounces back into it. So it looks for breaks, and it counts breaks and then does some calculations to determine the speed of whatever is spinning. And it comes with this reflective tape, and this stuff works really well. It's not extremely inexpensive or anything, so in order to conserve on that, I use it when I need to. There's some times where you need this because it reflects light in a lot of different ways. It's kind of a prismatic reflector, so it emits light back in a lot of different directions. So if you can't point the laser straight on to something, this is what you're going to want to use. Like if you're in an engine compartment or something, and you want to measure your just say your crankshaft speed, and you can't get a direct shot at it with this, you can come at it from a slight angle using this reflective tape. But if you can get to what you're wanting to measure the speed on without any trouble and shine the laser directly onto it, you can do something like I've done here to conserve some of that tape. This piece here is all white that spins on this little gearbox motor, and this little gearbox motor is a little 12 volt motor, and it's rated at 50 RPMs on the max. And I've got it hooked up to a pulse width modulator, a very small one that came with a switch. It's all wired into this box, and I use this for building fishing rod components. The way it works is I've got a forward and reverse on the switch, so when I put it in forward, it's going to spin towards me, and I can control the speed using this little pulse width modulator. And if I turn it all the way up, that should be right about 50 RPMs. And I can measure that to confirm that with this tachometer, and it's going to read. I placed just regular vinyl electrical tape, black, around this, and I left a white spot open here. So every time that passes, if I'm holding this close enough and it's straight on enough, it's going to read that white spot because it will reflect back more of the laser than the black areas. So I'm just going to try it on its top speed and see how close to being accurate the rating is on the motor itself. Alright, and so I've taken my measurement, and I usually let it go several revolutions before I actually go back and check to see what it read. And I will this memory button here, it's got an MEM button and a test button. When you're testing, you hold down the test button, and when you want to check to see what your RPMs were, you can use the memory button, and you hold it down, and it will give you the high, the low, and the last reading. So if I hold it down here, it will show the high. It says up, that's the high reading was 50.4. And if I hold it down again, it'll show the low, which was 50.3. If I hold it down again, it will show the last, which was 50.3. So you can see here that I'm powering this off of 12 volts. It's a 12 volt rated motor. It's rated at 50 RPMs, and I pretty much confirmed that with this. So, you know, most of the motors that are rated at a certain RPM max, that's pretty accurate. It's going to be pretty accurate. But just say you want to find a setting on your dial and mark it. Just say I wanted to find 25 RPMs. Well, I can check using this tachometer, and I can note the position. You probably can't see it. There's a little indexing mark on the knob. So if I can set this to where I can get it turning at about 25 RPMs, I can make a mark on my faceplate here, and then I will know if I want to set it up to 25 RPMs, I need to turn that indexing mark to this area here, and that will get me pretty close to where I want to be. There could be some variation depending on your power source and things like that, but that's a good way. That's a good use for the tool, is for marking index points as to where, if you're using a variable resistor, or if you're using a pulse width modulator like this, to control your speed of your motor. That's a handy way to get an idea of where different settings on the dial are in the RPM range. So, and also using this vinyl tape and just leaving the white spot open here, that could save you a few bucks in the future on your reflective tape. I try to conserve that as much as I can. And I've got the same type of motor here. It's the exact same gearbox. This one's not installed on anything right now, and I'm going to run it off this 24 volt battery. So, you know, theoretically it should go pretty close to double the RPMs of the one that's running off 12 volts. And if you overvolt it, it should go somewhere in the neighborhood of twice as fast if I'm doubling the voltage on it. And, you know, there's a lot of variables to that, but I just thought I would hook it up and see what RPMs we get, and also use some vinyl tape, electrical tape on here to blacken out the shaft, and I stuck a magnet on this shaft. So every time that magnet passes, it's reflective, as I think you can see there. It should reflect back into the emitter on this, and I should be able to get a fairly accurate RPM reading using that method instead of using reflective tape. And of course the reflective tape works great. That's the best way to go. But if you're trying to conserve what it comes with, or trying to keep from ordering so much of it if you're using it a lot, that's one thing you can do, is try to find different ways of reflecting that light without using the tape. Alright, let's see what we got there on that one. Got 111.8 as my high, 111.4 is my low, and 111.8 is my last reading. So that's just a little more than double, and this could, I didn't measure this, this could be slightly higher than 24 volts. I'm sure it probably is. So that would probably account for the few additional RPMs. I just thought some people might want to see that. It was suggested by another YouTube viewer, Don Brandt. If you haven't checked out his channel, check it out. It's pretty awesome. He does a lot of cool things over there. He suggested that I do a demonstration of this tachometer as a standalone video, and I thought that was a great idea. So anyway, this is very inexpensive. It's pretty reliable. I think you get really accurate measurements with it. The diameter of your shaft, or whatever you're measuring the rotational speed of, none of that matters. All it's doing is counting how many times light's reflected back into it per revolution. Now if on this one that I was demonstrating earlier, if I'd left 2 open spots on it and turned it down to a lower RPM range, I'd need to make sure to divide my result in half. For example, just say I had it set and it was running at 6 RPMs. Well, once you start getting down to the lower RPM range, this thing is not nearly as accurate. So you might want to add a second opening on the exact opposite side, it will count 2 openings per rotation. If I had set this to run at 12 RPMs, it counted 24. I had 2 open spots. You divide that by 2, that would put you at your 12 RPMs. Hopefully that makes sense. But when you start getting down to lower numbers than say 10 RPMs or so, I've noticed this thing can get inaccurate, especially if you start getting down into the 1 or 2 RPM range. You start getting some inaccuracies on this. So if you will divide that up and add extra either pieces of reflective tape or extra openings like I did here on, or like I could do on this one, I can make another opening over here where it would show white twice. So and then I would divide that answer by 2, or if you left 4 open spots, you divide it by 4. For some reason I feel like that might sound confusing, but if anybody has any questions about what I was trying to explain there, just leave a comment below and I'll try to explain it better if I can in writing. If everybody else got it, great. I hope they did. Alright, well, I guess I'll wrap this video up. I just wanted to show that, and I will leave a link below in the description to the Amazon page where I bought this exact one, and I believe they're selling for $11.99 right now. I just looked that up. So if you're interested in one of those, you can pick one up for about 12 bucks shipped if you have Amazon Prime.